The beam cuts through green darkness, illuminating a metal door frame half buried in sand. Beyond it, a corridor stretches into black water, its walls still bearing the angular stenciling of Wehrmacht markings. This is not a shipwreck. This is a building, an entire research station resting on the Arctic seafloor, where no structure should exist. The operations room appears first, surprisingly intact. A wooden table stands against the far wall, its surface covered in a thin layer of silt that shifts gently in the current. Mounted above it, a barometer still hangs from its brass bracket, the glass face cracked, but readable. The needle points to a pressure reading locked in place for 80 years. Next to it, a smaller instrument, a thermometer housing, remains bolted to the wall panel. These were not decorative. They were working tools, calibrated and checked multiple times daily by men whose reports reached U-boat commanders hunting convoys in the North Atlantic. A radio transmitter occupies the room's center, its dials and knobs surprisingly free of corrosion. The metal casing shows German manufacturer stamps, and the frequency bands are still visible beneath a film of marine growth. Wires trail upward toward what would have been an antenna mast, now collapsed somewhere in the darkness above. Communication logs would have passed through this equipment, encoded weather data sent in short bursts to minimize detection. Every storm front, every wind shift, every temperature drop recorded here became tactical intelligence for naval operations thousands of kilometers south. The desk holds remnants of the station's final days. A compass sits embedded in silt, its brass rim tarnished but intact. Nearby, the corner of a leather-bound logbook protrudes from sediment, too fragile to disturb. These objects remain exactly where they were placed, arranged with the methodical care of men who expected to return to them the next morning. The sleeping quarters reveal a different kind of preservation. 8 metal bed frames line the walls in 2 rows, their thin mattresses long dissolved into the water. Personal storage lockers stand at the foot of each bunk, some hanging open, others sealed shut by rust. Inside one accessible locker, a wool uniform jacket still retains its shape, the fabric dark and compressed. The collar bears the insignia of the Kriegsmarine, naval personnel assigned to what was officially designated Weather Station Kurt. A pair of boots rests beneath one bunk, positioned as if the owner simply stepped out of them before lying down. The leather has stiffened and darkened, but the laces remain threaded through their eyelets. Next to them, a tin cup sits upright on the floor, its interior coated in sediment. These small domestic details, boots aligned, cup placed carefully aside, speak to the routine that governed life here. The men followed schedules, maintained order, and lived within the strict discipline of military posting, despite the isolation. The bunks themselves were arranged for maximum efficiency in minimal space. Each man had roughly 1 meter of personal area. No privacy, no comfort beyond the essential. Wooden shelving above the beds once held personal items, and a few corroded metal tins still cling to these ledges. One tin, pried open by earlier explorers, contained tobacco residue and the remains of rolling papers. Another held a small folding knife and a whetstone, practical tools for a posting where supply lines stretched thin. The cold here was constant. The station operated above the Arctic Circle, where winter darkness lasted months and temperatures fell far below freezing. Heating came from a coal-burning stove, its iron body still standing in the corner of the sleeping area, the door ajar. Coal fragments lie scattered on the floor around it, spilled during the station's final occupation. The men who slept here wore layers even indoors, rationed fuel carefully, and measured their days by the rhythm of weather observations and radio transmissions. The weather station platform extends from the main structure, a metal framework that once stood exposed to Arctic wind. Instrument housings still cling to their mounting brackets. A wind gauge, its cups missing, points upward from a vertical shaft. The mechanism that recorded wind speed sits below it, a clockwork device protected by a sealed metal box now half open, revealing gears locked in place by corrosion. A larger apparatus nearby is a recording barograph designed to trace atmospheric pressure on a rotating drum. The drum remains in position, and faint markings on its surface suggest it was still functioning when the base was abandoned. Germany's meteorological efforts in the Arctic were not exploratory. They were operational necessities. Accurate weather forecasting determined the success or failure of naval campaigns. U-boats needed to know when fog would obscure their movements, when storms would scatter convoy escorts, when ice conditions would permit surface transit. Weather Station Kurt was one of several German installations in remote Arctic locations, placed there specifically to gather data beyond the reach of Allied reconnaissance. The information flowed through encrypted channels to command centers in occupied Norway and Germany itself. Forecasters used this data to predict conditions across the North Atlantic shipping lanes, giving submarine commanders crucial advantages in positioning and attack timing. The instruments here were standard meteorological equipment, but their placement made them strategic assets. Temperature readings, humidity levels, barometric trends, all of it compiled into reports transmitted every 6 hours. The station operated on a skeleton crew, rotating personnel every few months when supply ships could reach them. They lived in isolation, surrounded by ice and darkness, their work invisible to the wider war but essential to its conduct. The supply depot occupies the largest interior space, a storage room stacked with wooden crates bearing black stenciled markings. Wehrmacht supply codes cover the sides, along with handling instructions in German. Several crates remain sealed, their contents protected by waxed canvas linings. Others have been pried open, revealing tins of preserved meat, condensed milk, and hardtack biscuits, standard rations for isolated military postings. A workshop area adjoins the storage room, its workbench still holding tools arranged in careful rows. Wrenches, screwdrivers, pliers, all show the heavy use of men maintaining equipment in harsh conditions. A hand drill sits clamped to the bench edge, a half-finished hole visible in a piece of metal sheeting nearby. Spare parts for the radio equipment fill small wooden boxes, vacuum tubes wrapped in paper, coils of wire, replacement condensers. The station had to be self-sufficient. No resupply runs during winter, no outside assistance if equipment failed. Fuel drums line one wall, several still sealed, others tapped and empty. Coal for heating, kerosene for lamps, diesel for a backup generator. The men rationed everything, calculated consumption rates, and kept meticulous records of what remained. A chalkboard on the wall shows inventory numbers, partially erased, but still legible. The handwriting is precise, the numbers aligned in columns. Someone updated this board regularly, tracking supplies as they dwindled through the long Arctic night. A medical kit rests on a high shelf, its metal case opened to reveal bandages, antiseptic bottles, and surgical instruments. Remote postings required basic medical self-sufficiency. No doctor, no hospital, just a designated crew member with first aid training and a manual. Frostbite, injuries from equipment, illness from the cold and isolation, all had to be managed on site. The kit's contents suggest preparation for emergencies that, based on the station's condition, never came. A sealed compartment near the operations room holds the base's documentation. The door to this space was closed when the structure sank. creating a partial air pocket that delayed water intrusion. When finally opened, the room revealed shelves lined with binders, logbooks, and map cases. Water damage has affected everything, but not destroyed it. One logbook, carefully extracted and photographed, shows daily entries in neat German script. Dates run from autumn through early winter. Weather observations recorded at regular intervals. Temperature, wind direction, barometric pressure, cloud cover, visibility. Each entry follows the same format, professional and precise. The handwriting changes between entries, indicating different crew members took turns maintaining the record. Maps stored in waterproof cylinders show Arctic coastlines, sea ice conditions, and marked locations of other German installations. Navigation charts detail approach routes for supply vessels, noting hazards and safe anchorages. One chart bears hand-drawn annotations updating ice formations, observations made during the station's operational period. These were working documents, constantly revised based on field conditions. Personnel records identify the crew by rank and specialty. Meteorologists, radio operators, maintenance technicians, a commanding officer. Names appear alongside assignment dates and transfer orders. The roster confirms this was a small unit, rotating in and out on ships that made the dangerous Arctic crossing when conditions permitted. The final roster lists 8 men, matching the number of bunks in the sleeping quarters. Mission orders, partially legible, outline the station's purpose and reporting protocols. Weather data transmission schedules, communication codes, emergency procedures. The language is formal, military, devoid of anything beyond operational detail. There are no personal letters, no photographs, nothing that reveals the men as individuals beyond their function. They were here to observe, record, and transmit. Everything else was secondary. The base did not sink in a catastrophic event. It subsided gradually, claimed by the unstable Arctic coastline it was built upon. The structure stands on what was once a rocky promontory, extending into a sheltered bay. Post-war satellite imagery and geological surveys reveal the truth. The entire section of coastline collapsed into the sea decades after the station was abandoned. Arctic permafrost is not permanent. Seasonal thaw cycles, changing temperatures, and coastal erosion slowly destabilize ground that appears solid. The rock beneath Weather Station Kurt fractured over time, weakened by ice expansion and wave action. At some point, likely in the 1960s or 1970s, the promontory gave way. The station slid intact into the water, settling upright on the seafloor in roughly 15 meters of depth. This explains the preservation. The building did not break apart. It descended whole, interior spaces flooding slowly as seawater found entry points through windows and door frames. Equipment remained bolted in place. Objects stayed where they were left. The cold Arctic water prevented rapid decay, and the depth kept it beyond the reach of surface ice and storm action. Germany abandoned Weather Station Kurt in 1944 as Allied air superiority made Arctic resupply increasingly impossible. The crew evacuated, taking only personal items and classified materials deemed too sensitive to leave behind. Everything else remained, judged not worth the risk and effort of retrieval. The station sat empty for decades, exposed to wind and weather, slowly degrading until the land itself erased it from the surface. Discovery came through sonar mapping by a marine research team surveying Arctic coastlines for climate change studies. An anomalous structure appeared on the seafloor, angular and clearly artificial. Divers descended and found the station, its walls still standing, its interior accessible. The historical significance became clear immediately. Photographs, video documentation, and careful artifact recovery followed. What remains underwater is a moment frozen not by choice, but by circumstance. The men who worked here completed their mission and left. The war moved on without them. The Arctic reclaimed what they built, preserving it not as a memorial, but as an accident of geology and time. Every instrument, every tool, every object left behind now rests in cold darkness, silent evidence of Germany's Arctic operations and the men who endured isolation to support them.